let's get started.
Can we make that orange?
Great, there we go.
Okay, what do you think, Steve? Steve?
With that, we move on to the CEO's dialogue titled Networking Guide in the Virtual World. And this promises to be a very, very interesting session. Firstly, let me welcome and introduce the members of this panel. Dinesh Aggarwal, Joint Managing Director and Head, Spatial Solutions Division, Panasonic Life Solutions India. RM Vishakha, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, IndiaFirst Life Insurance, and Sumit Sood, Group Vice President and Head of APAC, GlobalLogic. This session will be moderated by Saurabh Chandra, Managing Director, BCG India. Saurabh, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ivan. First of all, I would like to thank all the participants who took their precious time out and deliberate in this session together. Nonetheless, my fellow friends and the co-panelists, today we are going to have some interesting insights as how, as leaders, we all are trying to work around with the new normal, taking digital workplace as the focal point of our conversation. So with that, let me open it up. And I think since we have multidisciplinary companies, CEOs participating, so let me open it up with Vishakha. Vishakha, you run a very interesting company wherein others can boast about that we run only blue collars or white collars. You have an interesting mix of both, and both are equally so very critical. What does digital workplace means for a company like yours, which has so much of energy, fabric of people, and therefore the complexity that it brings together?
Thank you, Saurabh. Thank you for starting with me, and thank you for having me on the panel. So, we've been talking about hyper-personalization when it comes to customers, right? I think what the pandemic and the digital workplace has taught us is really about hyper-personalization of each and every role and every individual as an employee. Something as simple as a call center agent, while technology enabled each of them to be able to take it from their homes. Even during the early days of lockdown, we had several employees who would say, please give me special permission to come to office because I live in a one-room chawl. There's no way on earth I can really work from home. And you have people who have the luxury of having space, who want to work from home, and to whom we have to say, listen, it's customer facing. You need to go convince that customer to buy. It's no longer pandemic. We have bank partners, right? The bank is open. So you need to go, but he's very comfortable in his, bungalow in Surat, and he wants to be at home and work from there. So I think it has really taught us hyper-personalization of roles and individuals at a whole different level altogether. There's no categorization at all that was applicable. So that's what I think it was, enable everybody and then some. I think that was what was the mantra for us.
So true. And you know what? This has brought, as Vishakha says, all of us in the learning chair once again, keep ourselves open to understand others' problem, and therefore see that how digital workplace can evolve. With that, learning and what we intend to do as leaders, maybe every now and then, or maybe every day. Dinesh, if I come to you, and you run such an interesting business, we all have been consumer of your products and we enjoy them. We know that it takes a lot to kind of put that one product out wherein you also have such diverse ecosystem, but also you have the complexity of your partners making this magic happen for all of us. So from your lenses, if you have to share that how this digital workplace definition fits in and what that one learning that you got out of it, it'll be great for us to hear.
Thank you, Saurabh. So I think the biggest learning is, that you can actually work from anywhere, right? And I think this is going to stay. It's a hell of empowerment which has come into our hands. I mean, perhaps these technologies were existing, but we never had the pressure of utilizing them. But the last 2 years kind of forced us to use them. And suddenly you find that you can have a discussion, you can have a presentation, you can interact with your team anywhere, anytime. I'm not suggesting that, which is what has happened during this period. I'm not suggesting that there's no work-life balance. But I feel so empowered, and so do many of my teammates who've said the same. That they feel so empowered today that they can actually fill in so much more into their daily life. Earlier for every meeting with customer, you had to be physically present, which includes, traveling time, and then of course, maybe the waiting time and so on. But today, you can actually fit in maybe between like what I'm doing right now, between two meetings, I'm having this interaction. So, which is, personally, I think this is great thing to happen for a developing country like ours, where each minute, each hour is going to be more valuable. All of us are expected to add more value and enhance our own individual productivity. So I see that happening already across, and I think we will continue with this. It's already been accepted by the various components of the ecosystem, whether they are customers or their suppliers. This whole way of working, is already accepted. So today I will physically travel only for some very critical, strategic discussion, not otherwise. So this is what sort of for us, the difference has been. Of course, information is a great enabler. So with technology, information is available literally, on your fingertips. The question is how you're using this information for a better decision making. And that is what we are, moving towards. So even if you look at the blue-collar workers, of course, directly this digital intervention may not have helped them, but what has helped them is the intervention we have done in the manufacturing, where they are able to see information on the shop floor and take decisions on the right time. So that is what digitization means to us, and will enable our business more strongly as we go. Yeah. So.
Excellent. So digitization certainly is helping. Dinesh says it's very important for our country. We all have learned optimizing. With that, Sumit, if I may want to ask you, it is helping our country, but your business, you primarily see multiple countries. your IP is your people. Your people, since they are your IP, need to be at where they are needed. It's more fragmented. So two questions for you. When you see your business, how you see digital workplace has taken a new definition for you. And second, when it is taking new definition, since you are seeing multi countries, is it everywhere the same, or do you see there is a different method to manage this whole new normal in a different way?
Well, sorry, we're being very polite in saying this is a different method to manage this whole new normal. I think there's a different method to manage this madness. That's how I like to describe our world. and look, we work in the engineering and R&D sector, right? So while just as a fundamental business, we are very comfortable working remote, working from home. I myself, I don't live in the town that I work in, and it's been that way for the last 7 years now. So a couple of days a week, every week, week after week, I have always worked from home. So do my teams. We were fairly comfortable and flexible. So when the lockdowns got announced, as an example, it took us literally 4 hours to shut everything down, move people back home, and all 12,000 of our employees in India were productive. There's no loss of productivity anywhere. But what we have realized over a period of time is that there is absolutely no replacement for in-person interactions. So till metaverses and their corporate equivalents pop up and we can all interact in 3D with a sense of touch, smell, sound, body language, everything. Till then, there is no replacement for being able to sit in a room and scribble a complex problem on a whiteboard and figure out how to solve for it. Right? I mean, I cannot figure out a flaw in a circuit that a team's trying to break and figure out where is the flaw because of that small chip. The whole autonomous car, as an example, is having problems in its ADAS system. We can't do that all remote. So yes, I do believe that 20% of it has to get back real time, but on demand, right? So and across countries, what this has done is it has made us get very comfortable with talent anywhere. So earlier it used to be that, hey, this work we'll do only in Poland, this work we're only going to Croatia, this work is only in India. Now it's like, no, it's anytime, anywhere. Figure out overlapping time zones. If the need be, fly people across to spend 2 weeks and build a personal rapport with the rest of the team and then just disperse. And it's working. It's working. We're globally around 25,000 employees at this point in time, 13,000 in India. I don't think more than 1,000 people across the globe are inside their offices at any given day today. And it's working out fairly well for us so far. So yeah, let's see how it shapes up ahead.
Awesome. So since there is certainly a method to the madness,
yes,
seems that method is working and working pretty well. And again, this brings a fabric of Dinesh that there is an optimization. With that, if I may want to ask Vishakha, you, and maybe this is for everyone, but starting with you, we all knew technology is slowly taking over. Whatever we do, if we have to make things more predictable, more faster, technology has to be in the play. But suddenly, seems that technology has just spiraled to take the center seat. Do you see that ways as a digital workplace as well, or in your business, since you deal with such critical life sciences which touches human and life, you see it differently? How do you see technology touching digital workplace and taking a center seat?
So I think I'd like to kind of agree a little bit with what Sumit said. And while he spoke about circuit breakers and solving problems of those nature, I talk about the complete emotional connect that was missing. Life insurance as a product is all about risk management at a very personal level. We don't think of ourselves in terms of value. We're not taught to think of ourselves in terms of monetary value. We're always taught to think of ourselves as emotional value that we add to people. And maybe men as bread earners, mentally also think of themselves from a monetary value perspective, and they attach certain value in the material possessions and so on. When you're talking about insurance, it is all about care. It's all about risk management. It's all about thinking about family or long-term And these are not a product. What you're selling is basically a promise. What you're selling is basically a concept and a risk management tool. And nothing about it is touch and feel. It's not a product. And under those circumstances, when you're trying to buy a product like that, emotional connect, trust in the person who's selling it to you is extremely important. Today, if I was to buy, since we've got Dinesh, if I was to buy a Panasonic product, even on Amazon, I will go and read it all up. I will then look at the warranty. I will look at the features. I'll do a compare and contrast. And at the end of the day, it's okay if there's no person behind that product. But when you're buying a life insurance product, you want to look into somebody's eyes. You want to hear a voice. You want to know, listen, I'm buying this policy, but if something happens, who is the voice there? And especially this comes up when you're talking in terms of long-term policies, right? These are not short-term transactions. Term is trying to become short-term, and you could have an argument and say term is being bought online. But let's be very clear that the percentage is in low single digits as of now. So when I talk about it, I talk broadly. You cannot solve problems of anything which is remotely conflicting on a web chat. This is great for a panel discussion, but there's zero connect with all the observers. We have no idea who the audience is. We're not able to connect to any of the audience. There is no conversation post this panel, which I have always found the most informative, or pre-panel, and we're missing all of that interaction. So I worry that this much of digital, if we adopt it for the convenience without evaluating the holistic nature of digital, we'll probably be losing out on a lot. A simple example, and I stop with this, is I had someone walking in today to my office and saying, "Thank you so much for stopping by the other day. You're asking me that question on how I felt, changed my mind about leaving." He said he was this close to accepting another offer, and kind of bumped into him on the corridor and said, "What happened? You don't look your usual self. All okay with you?" It's only that much. And that interaction made him realize that he really loves this company. He's been having a great time. He's just lost connect, lost association. Saurabh, people are beginning to feel they work for a screen and not for an organization, and they don't care who's behind the screen because they're not connecting anyway. And just that casual corridor conversation, which I made with zero idea of what was going on in his head, made the decision between, keeping an employee and losing an employee. Steven Spielberg's Ready Player One, since Sumit mentioned Metaverse, is a movie worth watching to see that Metaverse is also not really going to get us there. The man is a social animal. Mankind is a social animal. And I think we can't really get that out. Technology is required. It eases things. It provides connect. But I don't think we can ever take away the fact that we are social animals.
Of course. So technology, though as much as may try to take a center seat, but it shouldn't be forgotten that it's made by people. And with that, since we are on a topic of people, and Dinesh, if I may ask you, for few, the digital workplace has been a boom, especially the Gen X, Gen Z, Gen Y, being working from home, which used to be luxury, now has become a norm. But for few who has to manage the show, for them it has made things equally complex for them. How do you see technology is helping them narrowing that gap in spite of increasing the complexity? How do you see technology playing a role there?
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier, and I'm addressing what Vishakha also just now mentioned. So I think everyone is in agreement with the fact that it's going to be a mixed, it's going to be a hybrid, way of working. So there are certain elements where touch and feel is important. So it could be with your customer, just a handshake. You could be touching the shoulder of an employee, of your teammate, which makes all the reassurance. But where the technology helps is, is in terms of not waiting for a certain period of time to have an interaction with your teammate or for a certain subject, right? So, I mean, today I can virtually do it instantaneously. If I have 15 minutes on hand, I just make a call and, we complete that discussion. So there is a productivity enhancement bit, and then of course there is that whole bit of inducing the human element, bonding. So that obviously has to happen in the physical world. Uh, so how technology enablement is kind of repeating what I said earlier, that as we move, both as individuals, as businesses, there's the need of information would increase, and of course, access to information will increase, which will actually help us take decisions in our individual lives and also in our work lives. And this is across all levels, including a worker, because that is imperative. If you don't have information, then you're living in a kind of a cooped up world. So you need that information. You need what's happening. Let's say in your factory, what's happening in the world outside, in the competition, what's happening internationally. So more and more information need is required to become more globally competitive. And this is a characteristic of a developing economy. So all of us, all businesses are aiming, aspiring to do that, to grow larger, to grow wider, grow geographically. So information access has to be enabled by technology in whatever form, whether it's internal documents, external readings, research papers, and so on and so forth. Uh, Technology is going to intervene to enable productivity. So simple, let's say in a warehousing, having a warehouse management systems, automatic stacking equipment, all of that is enabling productivity. Similarly, on the shop floor, automating your lines, automating your inspection, all of that is technology which will happen. The net result of that is information. So that information, which is a processed information, will help a better decision making right from a worker level to the top. So this is the technology enablement which I don't think we can overlook, because if you have to survive, we need to adopt that. So that bit of technology is imperative, right? So, but yeah, there will be a mix of in terms of interaction. There would be a mix of both. So there would be a virtual and there would be physical. So that's what I thought of it is.
Very true. There will be virtual, there will be physical, and there's lots of debate everywhere whether it will be just one way. But one of the verdicts coming out very clearly is that there has to be an optimality. With that, if Sumit, I may ask you, and this will be something that all our sales gurus of the country would be eager to hear, as much as digitization may take place, but when you are on the field and you actually have to kind of chase business, then there is only that much technology can do. So therefore, the question that exclusively in BD job, in sales job, what is that top 3 novelty that you would have seen across the world, your peers, yourself, that people would have adopted, that is helping BD either be better or at least the same, if not worse?
Look, the power of networks is something that has become so prominent over the past few quarters now. When the pandemic first broke out and this was all remote, all travel had stopped, we were literally bracing for maybe a 15-20% decline in our business. Forget growth rates, right? So we are amongst the fastest growing companies on the planet inside the tech sector. But we're like, hey, we're going to go down to 15-20%. There's just no doubts about that. But as things began to unfold, we actually saw, even before the current tech boom started, I'm talking about right around May 2020, just after the pandemic had broken out, we saw hyper acceleration in demand. And pretty much all of that demand was coming from referrals. So while in a regular business development work, you would go meet somebody at a conference, or you would have a marketing campaign, or A, B, C, D, E. All of us, we started calling our clients and talking to them and saying, hey, can you refer one? Can you refer one? And we realized that multiplier was amazing. So that was number one, right? That reach out into your network and you'll be surprised by what comes out. And then hence also the importance of keeping your clients happy. They're really happy with what you do, because the moment they refer you to somebody, they're putting their own personal stake on the line as well. That was one. The second was, all of us inside GlobalLogic had to invest in our own digital personas. I'm a fairly social media shy person, right? I might not come across as one, but I'm fairly shy when it comes to being out on social media. Over the last 2 years, I am now fairly active on LinkedIn. I am fairly active on Instagram. I'm fairly active on Facebook. Most of it is, 99% of it is all related to work. I'm pretty sure I'll slip into sharing my holiday pics very soon. I'm just pretty sure that's going to happen as well, right? But the need to build, look, sir, you and I are not shaking hands right now, right? All I know you is from a brief conversation we're having right now. I know that Vishakha sits in a very lovely office, or Dinesh is busy between meetings. There's no other communication or exchange of information between us. All I would know is by reading about you folks online, and vice versa. Hence, the investment into your own digital persona, it becomes fairly important. And personally, I have had to take time out to actually now knocking out around 2 hours a week to write content that will go out on social media, right? Because that's part of who I am, and people who can't meet me, that's how they would judge me, connect with me, build a rapport or bond with me. And then the third bit, Vishakha, what you mentioned about that tap on the shoulder of an employee, very, very important, right? I consider myself to be a very, very engaging manager. 2020, 2021, when we did our employee engagement scores, we do that every year. My employee engagement scores had nosedive. I struggled to connect with my own teams in the virtual world, because I'm a very structured individual, meeting at time ahead, then we'll come and meet and discuss, etc., etc. And suddenly now those casual corridor conversations are lost. So literally created, and I learned this from somebody at Adobe who we were talking to, and he gave a very good piece of advice. He said, Sumit, I don't keep everything structured. There are times when I just call my team members ad hoc. That's my equivalent of bumping into somebody in the corridor. Talk. And I started doing that, and started doing that more and more and more and more. And bang on, it's a year hence, and my teams are again feeling as engaged as they were earlier. So I would say that would be the 1, 2, 3 of all of this, right? The power of networks is very, very important. Number 2, we have to invest in our own digital personas, because that's the only vibe that we put out there in this world. And number 3, retain an element of advocacy. You can't do that online. Pick up the phone and video call a colleague, or just call a colleague and have those casual conversations. I think that's very important too. And same with customers, right? You have to get a bit unstructured, right? With customers, we now have peeks into their homes. You're on a video call with them. Suddenly their child walks in, or a spouse is annoyed about something, and you just hear that background noise as well. That's okay. We are into the lives of our customers and colleagues like we've never been before, and vice versa. So I think that's all of that helps, and all of that has worked so far so good.
Awesome. So effect of network, tap on the back, and therefore creating connect. On that magical line, and Vishakha, if I have to come to you on this, again, one of most critical functions and one of the most critical leader of that function across the globe, they would love to learn as it has become very difficult for them to execute their job, and that function is the people function, the human resource function. And with this, as much as they all care about people, try to bring that whole fabric of energy, whole fabric of connect, but this macro ecosystem have made it challenging. In digital workplace, what is that 3 things that you see that either is working good vis-a-vis from that function perspective, or you may want to recommend that if somebody would do ABC, things may become much better. What is that your piece of advice and experience that you may want to share with the HR friends who are listening us today?
Yeah, thanks, Saurabh. I'll just pick up from the thoughts that what Sumit said raised. So we are in great places to work for the past 3 years in a row, 4 years in a row, and we are in the top 100 places to work for the past 2 years. And I'm an extremely structured person, and I have my one-on-ones planned out. I start getting restless when I don't have my one-on-ones with my team. And there are people who are very unstructured. I look at it with a slight difference emphasis, and I urge my managers to kind of put out their schedule into a public domain so that their teams can call them whenever the teams have time. And so the reason I say this is as you go lower and lower in the hierarchy, people have a lot of things they manage themselves. Today, I don't have small kids to manage. Today, I don't manage the housework. Okay, but when you go lower down in the hierarchy, you will find people having to probably look after their house, look after the cooking, look after the children. There's a lot more activity going on in their personal lives than as we grow older and, we move up the ladder. And calling them at odd hours sometimes can be very frustrating. And therefore, I kind of turned it the other way around and said, I'll have a structured meetings. And these are my free times. Any of you feel free to call me at any of these. If I need to talk to somebody, I actually SMS them and tell them, I'm free between so and so. Can you make time and call me? Because then they can get their house organized, get their children out of the way and call so they don't get embarrassed. Much as we want to accept it, there is also an image you want to produce, right? It's not just about what you're thinking of me. It's what I'm thinking of myself. I don't want you seeing me in this avatar, for instance. So how can you enable that? How do you make sure that your employees can feel and take pride in the image they are projecting despite the way they're having to work? I also made it a point, we did two other things, which is, I think, very different. One, we had a call where we thanked all the families. I personally sent out thank you letters to each of the spouses and the parents for sharing their home with us. We have never shared our work for them. Our workplace has been maybe open for one day in a year when we have a family day and you can bring your family to work, or 2 days in a year, with the family. But the families have now opened up their homes. They have changed their schedule. They have given up on their afternoon siesta because this guy has got conference calls and is yelling at the top of his voice. The connectivity is only in the drawing room, so everybody stops doing their work in the drawing room and gives it off to the employee. I think the amount of sacrifice that families have made is really, really underestimated and under-acknowledged. So we made it a point to acknowledge it, and we actually sent thank you notes with small gift boxes to each and every one of them. And I intend to do it again and again, because I think we underestimate how much these people have been put under trouble. And the third thing what we did is that from the bonuses of the non-field people, okay, all the ones who were in the corporate office who could switch to work from home, who chose to come to office because of their personal requirements, not because the office required them to, versus the sales team who had to go onto field because beyond the point, you can't sell a complex product as insurance, and I don't want to repeat myself, without face-to-face meetings. So the entire non-sales team took a percentage of their bonus and paid it to all the sales guys based on merit. I mean, we had some criteria and stuff, but just that action of giving up a part of their bonus of last year to the sales guys to acknowledge that even our growth of 5% last financial year, I mean, today we are at 50% growth, that's different. But last year we just did 5% and we scrambled. Even that would not have been possible if not for the frontline sales guys going out there and not having a choice, to work from home. So I think just these three initiatives that we took, I can recall multitude small ones like town halls, Yammer, continuous connect. I didn't care if anybody reacted to my Yammer post or not. I made it a point to keep posting, to keep sending messages, because you know that it's like bringing up children, you keep talking to them. You know that they're listening to you. You don't want to see that reaction immediately, but it will sink in and you will see the benefit of it later. So I think it was just about continuous communication, irrespective of what you're getting. You stay high, you stay motivated. That's your job as a leader.
Certainly, continuous communication and self-discipline and affection. Certainly. With that, if I may ask one quick view from Dinesh. Dinesh, simplicity touches, as they say, and digital workplace. Unfortunately, fortunately, everybody had to adopt. How much is enough? Or where we need to draw a line. Any one observation or views that you have seen where it wasn't drawn the line properly and then enough became super complex just in the norms of digital workplace. So how much is enough in your view?
Yeah, I think from work perspective, how much is enough to the extent of what information or process information a particular individual needs for his or her, effective working and decision making. And that is what the organization needs to define, because I can keep bombarding employees with a plethora of information, many of which is not really relevant to them. But then they are kind of forced to absorb that because the FOMO factor of not missing out on anything which the organization conveys. So I think this is an important element, but most of us tend to do the simplest thing. That if there's a data published, which is the public data, not restricted to a certain hierarchy, we just publish it to all employees, right? I think that is something which we need to filter. And in terms of, again, the digital world versus the physical world, while technology enables you a constant interaction, I don't think we should be misusing that. So the meetings which earlier used to happen in the physical world for review, for planning, the meeting should be largely around that, right? Just because technology enablement helps you get a team across India within half an hour or an hour, doesn't mean that you have multiple meetings to discuss a similar or same subject. I saw a lot of that happening as well. So I think that is where we need to put some limit, and we basically say that nothing else has changed. It's only the medium of interaction that has changed. So a line has to be drawn there. And third thing I think is to set the expectations right, because in this whole flexible way of working, the whole attitude change was, I will react or I will answer when I can. So in the day I might have done some of my personal work, and I say, okay, I will now reply to all the mails, all the messages in the evening. I might be doing that at 8 or 9 in the evening. I'm not expecting the answer right away. But the teammates most of the times don't understand that, and they start answering you back at 10 in the night. No, that is not the intention. So I think we'll have to correct that because this whole expectation, false expectation rise has actually happened in this period. So we perhaps need to tweak that down, turn it down consciously by talking to people. Because otherwise there's no, it's like endless. So these are, some of the things that we need to put a stop on in this digital hybrid world which we have adopted. Yeah.
Awesome. So as we're nearing the top of our one, please, Vishakha, go ahead. You have a point to make.
Sir, since Dinesh raised it and we are on a panel, this is a point which has bothered me and I have taken a different view, and I just wanted to check with people how they feel about it. So I might work on a weekend because I find a weekend convenient, and I'll send mails, and Now, there are two ways, right? One is you tell your team, please don't bother to reply back on the weekend. You can reply on Monday. Okay. The second is, how serious is the CEO's mail? Can a CEO's mail just be ignored for 48 hours? So I chose to actually start sending mails only during official hours because I didn't want to dilute my expectation that my mail is important. So I'm just trying to leave that here because we've got two more opinions. Like, should we get more disciplined and work as per the norms that we want to set? As against working based on our convenience and expecting people to adapt to that. It's just a question. I chose the former because I didn't want my mails to be diluted. I said, I'm not okay to 48 hours of no response because that creates an expectation and a habit which may not necessarily work in the best interest. So put it in the outbox and send Monday morning. Is that a better thing? So I just wanted to leave that thought behind.
Oh, yes. This is very interesting. And you know what, as we are touching the top of the hour, if I have to take a few nuggets from this whole conversation, we as leaders are learning as well. This is new norms, virtual or in person, both. Optimality will be seen. Tap the back, the whole people, empathy and self-discipline will be the need of the hour. With that, thank you so much, everyone, and I hand it over to Ivan now.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. That was a fantastic discussion. Some real issues that were tabled on the networking guide in the virtual world. Some great questions asked, some thoughts tabled. I think we're all leaving with some wonderful takeaways. I would like to thank the members of this panel, Dinesh Aggarwal, RM Vishakha, and Sumit Sood for taking time off from their very busy schedules and joining us at the CEO's Dialogue. We wish you and your respective organizations the very best going forward. And Saurabh, thank you for doing a fantastic job of moderating this CEO's Dialogue.
Thank you, Evan. Thank you, Saurabh.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned in. We will be back on the other side in a couple of minutes with the next session.